Have you ever wanted to have cake for dessert, but you just have no energy or no time to make an entire cake? Or, you know what? You just want an easy cake. A 5-minute cake. Well, then mug cake is for you. And for mug cake, we need just a few simple ingredients, a coffee cup, or a mug in English, and a microwave. That's all we need. So I'm going to show you today how to make a chocolate Nutella mug cake and a vanilla mug cake. So I have all of the ingredients that I'm going to need for both cakes sitting in front of us. We obviously are going to need some all-purpose flour, and we're going to need some normal sugar. We are also going to need butter, or in this case, I'm actually going to try and make the vanilla cake a lactose-free cake. Unfortunately, the chocolate cake won't be lactose-free only because I don't have a Nutella that's lactose-free, but you could probably find one. Everything else here that I'm going to be using is actually both vegan and I'm using as much lactose-free ingredients as I possibly can. Gluten-free is another story. Maybe we'll try that for another recipe. So we've got our vegan butter, our margarine. We've got some powdered sugar. That's going to be for some icing on top of the vanilla cake. We've got baking soda and baking powder. I always keep them both handy when I'm making cake. I think we'll only need the baking powder today, but that's cool. I've got some soy milk left over from one of our last projects. I have vanilla extract. I do have an egg that we'll use in the chocolate cake. I've got some cocoa powder. I have some vegetable oil. In this case, it is olive oil, which has a little bit strong flavor, but I like it in the cake, and since we don't use that much of it, I think it goes really well. And then finally, I have some Carrefour brand Nutella for the chocolate cake. So in just a second, we will begin with the chocolate cake and then move on to vanilla. So here I have assembled all of the ingredients except for a couple of our Nutella chocolate mug cake. Normally I separate everything out into little bowls for you, but I'm saving on dishes, and part of the wonder and amazement of mug cake is that you don't need a lot of effort or dishes to make it. So what I have in this bowl is 35 grams of plain flour. That's 1/4 of a cup. I also have 2 tablespoons, or the 15 milliliter measuring spoon, of cocoa powder. I have 3 tablespoons, or the 15 milliliter spoon measurement. I have 3 tablespoons of castor sugar. I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. The best way I can do this, I have no idea what the weight on 1/4 of a teaspoon is, but I believe that it would be about 1 gram of baking powder, not much at all. I have 1 large egg yolk that we're actually going to add in just a minute. I've got 2 tablespoons or 30 milliliters of my olive oil, and I have 3 tablespoons or 45 milliliters of my milk. Now, I haven't put in my tablespoon of Nutella yet because we actually have to wait on the Nutella. First things first, I'm going to mix all of these ingredients up together, and I use a fork for this. You could use a whisk, but remember, we're being simple and easy with our cake, and it's okay for cake batter to have some lumps in it. It really is. We just want to make sure we get all of the dry ingredients wet, and then we can add our egg yolk. And I show in a separate video, because you never know when you might need to separate an egg, how to separate out an egg white from an egg yolk. So we only use the egg yolk in this recipe. Got most of that out there. You know what we need? We need my trusty spatula. I never should have started this project without my spatula, and get all of the egg yolk out of the bottom of the bowl. There we go. So now we're going to mix the egg yolk in. And this is our completed cake batter. So now what we have to do is put it into our coffee mug. And this is something very important to remember. You want to use a coffee mug that's big enough that you only fill it about halfway or maybe just a little bit more, because the cake is going to puff up in the microwave. It's going to rise, okay? So here is one of my favorite coffee mugs. And I'm going to pour, hopefully, all of my cake batter into the coffee mug, but I have to stop if I fill it too full, or else I'm going to make a mess of my microwave. It looks like this is the perfect size. I think we can put all of the cake batter in there. Now, here's where the magic happens with this cake. We're going to put the Nutella into the middle of the cake batter. Because what we want is some nice molten Nutella to be in our cake as we eat it. So here's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take our tablespoon, and I just use a soup spoon. I don't measure this exactly. We're supposed to take our tablespoon of Nutella, and we're supposed to just plop it down in the middle. Like this. Plop. And just let it sink. We don't want to mix it in. We're just going to let it sink. And then we're going to take this cup over to the microwave, and we're going to microwave it for about 1 minute and 20 seconds. And you're going to watch the microwave, and you're going to watch it rise. If it starts getting too puffy, you can stop the microwave. That's okay. But give it about 1 minute and 20 seconds, and then we'll test and see if that was enough time. So I microwaved my Nutella mug cake for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and here's how we can tell that it is perfectly done. If I take my finger and I touch the top, if it comes off mostly clean and it's a little bit springy, then we have a cooked cake. And that actually gave me all the time I needed to do my dishes, so while this is cooling down, we can go ahead and make the vanilla cake. Here we have the ingredients for our second cake, our vanilla mug cake. This is the one that's properly lactose-free and vegan. In this mix, we have some similar ingredients to our chocolate cake. We've got 1/4 of a cup or 35 grams of white all-purpose flour. We've got 2 tablespoons or 15 milliliter spoons full of white sugar. We have 1/4 of a teaspoon or about 1 gram of baking powder. We've also got a 1/2 teaspoon, which is about 2.5 milliliters of vanilla extract. We've got melted vegan butter. We've got, I think it is 30 grams of melted vegan butter or 2 tablespoons. And then finally, we've got 45 milliliters or 3 tablespoons of our dairy-free milk, our soy milk. And all that we've got to do, just like with our chocolate mug cake, is mix, mix, mix. And these are the only ingredients that actually go into this cake. We are going to make a very nice, quick frosting for this particular cake. And that frosting is one that you could put on the chocolate cake too if you wanted to. And a really cool thing about vanilla mug cake is you can add things to it, like cookies or sprinkles or all sorts of different yummy, yummy things. You don't have to, but it's an option. So it looks like that's pretty well mixed. Remember, it's okay in a cake mix to have lumpy bits. So we're going to set our fork aside in a relatively clean place. And get our handy-dandy spatula. Now this is a smaller coffee cup that I have because I've actually tested this recipe before. It doesn't poof up too much. And using a bigger mug got a little bit silly looking. But I'm not going to fill it any more than about halfway. A little more than halfway. This has a really thick bottom, so that's all right. Maybe just a little more. A bit more. There we go. So now I'm going to microwave this for 90 seconds or 1.5 minutes. And then just like the chocolate cake, we'll see if it's finished. Now look at that. That is a beautifully finished mug cake. And of course, just like our chocolate one, ooh, the cup is still too hot to touch. Just like our chocolate one, if we press down, it's springy. And there's no cake on our fingers. So while we wait for this to cool down, because if we try to frost a hot cake, then the frosting will go and it will melt everywhere. We're going to make some frosting to go with our cake. Now, the best kind of frosting, really, is always made with some kind of butter, powdered sugar, and then vanilla extract or a little bit of milk. So what we're using today for our little bit of frosting is 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of our vegan butter, 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and about 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of our soy milk. And all that we're going to do is throw all those things in a bowl and then mix first on low and then on a high speed to whip it up really fast for probably 30 or 45 seconds. It won't take too terribly long. Whoop. All right. Now, even though that doesn't look like a whole lot, that is plenty of frosting for 1 or 2 cakes. And the best way that we can tell, of course, is to use our spatula and just bring it all into a ball so we can see. You'll use about half of that, just like this, on 1 cake. Now, I won't show you what our frosted cake looks like because he's going to take 5 or 10 minutes to cool, but you plop that on top of your vanilla cake and you will have a fantastic, quick, and easy dessert. Enjoy.